When you heard about the classified documents with Joe Biden, how much of this with Dan Bongino's argument about saying the fact that there's no way, and here's a perspective, when I kind of put it into context, like think about you're part of Biden's camp, okay, and you find classified documents. What do? Imagine if you're Reagan's camp, Clinton's camp, Bush's camp, Trump's camp, any camp, what do? Just assume what they're going to be doing. Wouldn't they say, hey, Mr. President, you got some classified documents here. Can you please take these to the office or put in the safe? It's not the place for it. You understand what I'm saying? It's just kind of like,
sure.
Can we just take this back to the White House and not leave it here? It's just a very basic conversation.
Like if someone found it back in the day.
Yeah. Can you see the visual? The car backs up and your own camp says, oh, Mr. Biden, President Biden, you have that. No, we have to report this to FBI or, It's a very confusing thing to see that happen. So what are your thoughts about what's going on with the documents?
Well, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I just look at who's speaking, what are they saying, and I interpret it. And right now, there is what you would call friendly fire coming in. Number one, any rational advisor to the president, your personal attorney, whoever it is that noticed this, or the people that were working with you at the Penn Biden Institute where you clean out the office and they're like, hey, in that closet there, was there some reference documents in here that maybe need to go back somewhere? Because you've got some documents in here that appear to be government stamped. Why are they still here? I mean, someone would have cleaned out, the office, someone, because it apparently hasn't been there in 4 years. And there's stuff there. So the number of people that could have given a good comment to the president is significant. There's probably a dozen or more people that had direct knowledge that could have said, hey, maybe we should call somebody to get these things picked up. Number one. But number two, look at where this is coming from. This is coming from, Omar was on a talk show and she brought it up, and the talk show host tried to go with the talking point and defend Biden. And she goes, no, this is a significant thing. I think there's opportunist friendly fire coming in that doesn't want Biden to be the candidate.
It's crazy. For me, the same thing with Harry when I said, why would you write a book trashing your family? And years later, you're going to have this backfire on you, and your kids are going to write something about you. When you do this to the opposing side, you're going to see months after what they did to Trump, first time ever for that to happen to Trump, it happens to you now. It backfires. Now, Garland has to keep the same standards, or else he's seen as what? He's seen as they're targeting a candidate to eliminate a candidate, which that's definitely not going to be a good look going into 2024.
But wouldn't you think they would be saying, hey, nothing to see here, Merrick, just chill, nothing to see here. That's usually the playbook.
But they're not. Yeah.
But they're not. Look at the Democrats that are out there that said Merrick Garland has no choice. And they were saying this before Merrick Garland says, hey, I'm thinking about it. It's been going on for a week, that the number of people is escalating. So you just ask yourself a question. Why are so many friends of Biden, or why are so many people that are on the team, that Democrat team, why are they coming out and saying
Adam?
This?
Yeah, I think one thing, if you go back and revisit that interview that Biden did with, I think it was 60 Minutes at the time, he's like, how could you be this irresponsible? And that just kind of keep playing in my head. It's like, all right, Joe, do you want to answer that exact same question to yourself there, Chief? So we'll see what happens here. One thing I will say is that whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, I don't think anyone's going to have any legal ramifications from this. Is it the video playing right now? Trump has he's able to kind of duck and cover under the fact that he was president at the time. Biden is the current president, I know, although this did happen as VP. But I think Tom brings up a good point. Democrats are looking for a soft landing to be like, Joe, thanks for your service, buddy. The whole reason, the whole premise of why Joe Biden became elected president, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, was the fact that he at least had a decent moral compass. Hey, he's good old Joe.
That's
he wouldn't do anything
sold.
wrong.
We don't know that, but that's
Correct.
how it was sold. Yes.
Exactly. Marketability.
Right.
He's not Trump. Basically, he's the anti-Trump. He's been in Washington forever. He's a good guy. You can trust Joe. But slowly but surely, the larger the lens, the deeper the lens of being in the Oval Office, you realize, what's all this stuff with Ukraine going on? What's this Hunter Biden laptop thing going on? What are all these things that you actually did that you're accusing Trump of? Not so fast here. So I think Tom is right there. I think there is a sort of a loud and proud faction at this point. Since they got through midterms, it wasn't a red wave. They're like, hey, Uncle Joe, thanks so much for everything. You got the orange man out of there. You did a great job. You're going to be a one-term president just like Jimmy Carter. Time to hit the road. P.S. You're 95 years old at this point mentally. Thanks for your service. Let's move on to 2024.
So if this happens. So here's a question: who will be the first female president? If there was a bet in Las Vegas, which I don't know if there is or not, let's search it to see if there is.
I'm sure.
Who will be the first female president? Do you think it's going to be a Kamala Harris, where he gets ousted before finishing his term, or you think they're going to let him finish his term before Kamala becoming
even if they try to impeach him, let's just go down. Let's go down that road. Because you said this is going to be the year of investigations.
Sure.
We started off the year with investigations. Voila. Keep in mind, the Dems own the Senate. So even if the House tries to impeach him like they did with Trump multiple times, Ukraine, this, that, the other, Russia, the Senate is not going to vote to impeach Biden. That's not going to happen. Or it's not going to, the House might raise it, but the Senate's not going to pass it.
And so, I think it's 60.
63 or 60, some number like that.
Yeah, percent.
They're not going to get it. Senate.
Out of 100, not even 50, you're saying.
No, it's not
60,
50.
Correct.
Yeah.
No,
correct.
Look, when you put a Supreme Court judge on, I think it's 51%. I think it's 60% of the Senate has to vote for the impeachment.
Back to your original question, God forbid it. We see, and barring anything out of nowhere, I don't see Kamala Harris becoming president.
What's more likely to happen? Let me just ask this question: is it more likely for him to resign? Is it more likely for him to finish his term, okay, and then say, "Yeah, I'm not going to run. I'm going to step aside," or is it more likely for him to continue his term and run for 2024? What is more likely out of those three things?
I think the least likely of those three things is him to step aside and just
resign.
Yeah, I don't see him resign. This isn't a resignable offense.
Agree.
So you agree with me? Thanks. I don't know. I think it's too early to tell. That wasn't a joke. I think it's too early to tell whether he's going to run for 2024 or not. He says he will, but is this the type of incident that will pierce the armor so much to the fact that he won't even want to run? I doubt it. Once you've been in politics this long, it's very hard to be like, all right, Joe, just give it up, buddy. I think even on the clearly on the right they want Joe out of there, but even on the left there's such a yearning for a younger, more attractive candidate. And look, I'm no fan of Gavin Newsom, but he seems to be being groomed to be that next spot. So I don't.
Although, remember, Gavin Pelosi and Biden.
Gavin
and Pelosi and Biden got together, and then Gavin made public statements with Pelosi, and he said, I will not primary him. I will not run against Joe Biden. I'm not going to primary this president. And that was just, 6 weeks ago?
And when has Gavin Newsom ever not lied?
Right. I suppose, gosh, you know what?
Right.
I need to rethink this.
Yeah.
But I think the least likely thing is that they pull the rug to the point that Kamala is president. I think that's the least likely thing.
I agree.
I think the most likely thing is, you said pierce the veil. I think that's a good way to put it. There's a veil with a sitting president, and you pierce the veil till somebody can get behind there and say, look, no politician has ever said I'm retiring from the highest office in the land. You are.
Yeah, that was my next question. What's the last time that an incumbent president did not actually run? Not win. I'm not saying that. When did they not run? When's the last time that happened?
I believe it's Lyndon Johnson at the height of the Vietnam War, where he said, I will not seek and I will not pursue my party's nomination for president.
So it was LBJ after he took over after JFK, after 68. He won to get elected. Because he served 2 terms at that point.
Yeah.
JFK's first term.
Served 1.5.
Right.
Correct. He served the half, Then he was reelected in 64. And then 68, I believe it was LBJ that said, I will not seek and I will not pursue the nomination. It was a famous, like almost trembling speech he gave on television. Well, he looked bad.
What do you think, Pat? Would you, as far as the question you asked about odds, Kamala running, female president, Biden, is that what you're kind of predicting?
You know, they asked Draymond Green the other day, hey, what do you think with your chance of being a Golden State Warrior long term? He says, no, it's inevitable. My days are numbered. He says, I'm only going to be here for. He says, I understand the business of this game. He says, I understand there's business with the NBA, and my time is coming, and I'm probably going to be playing elsewhere. This doesn't mean I would like to be a career Golden State Warrior, but I don't think it's going to be happening. I think I'm going to be going to a different place, and then he explained the pool story. He says, one day I will tell the real story that nobody knows about. The only thing you guys know is me punching him. But anyway, so that's a different story. The writing's on the wall, right? Okay. You know, yesterday I watched Brady play. It's very hard to watch the game. It wasn't easy to watch the game because, you know, everybody who was a Brady guy was rooting for a win. He did not look good. Don't get me wrong. If you didn't watch the game and you just go look at the stat sheet, you know, 39 for 57. I don't know the exact numbers. It could be 37 for 59, 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. It was not a good game.
It was embarrassing.
It was not a good game.
No.
The extra point guy missing it 4 times, that was the bigger story because that's, you know, which
Has
was
anyone ever done
history
that, by the way?
Since 1930, whenever the first season of the NFL was, 32 or 39, hasn't happened since then. But you watch and you're like, okay, is this guy going to come back? Is he going to come back, or is he going to go take his $360+ million contract that he got and just go do TV, right? Because he can
come back next year, you mean?
Is he going to come back next year? I don't know if it's a good idea for him to come back. Who's he going to listen to? His wife definitely didn't work out, cost him his marriage. His best friends, I don't know. In the camp, he's got a lot of good people in the camp, but a guy like that, can someone really tell him to stop? Yes. Now, to compare Brady and Joe Biden is like the worst example to use on what you can do there. But there is timing to stepping away. And in the world of politics, whether you like this guy or don't like this guy, I don't agree with his policies. I don't think he's a leader. But if you're competing in the NBA, you're competing to win a what? Championship. And then if you're competing in the NBA, you're competing to win a championship. And in the finals, you become a what? Finals MVP, right? What is considered a finals MVP in politics? Being the president.
You're the president.
He's become finals MVP. There's only 46 finals MVP in the politics. He's one of them, okay? He's probably the worst finals MVP, maybe one of the worst finals MVP.
Top 10 candidate.
For worst finals MVP, right? But the moral of the story is, guess what? Out of 113 billion people who have ever lived in the world, out of 330 million people living in America today, you are one of 330 million people that became, you're 4 or 5 of whatever living right now that became one of the finals MVP, becoming the president. Someone needs to sit down and say, look, you need to step away. I would like it to not be through the manipulative games for this person to step away. Make sense? Because sometimes you think you're bigger than the game. You no longer take counsel from anybody. And Tom, the person we had lunch with yesterday was given a very, very, very interesting perspective. One of the most influential people in politics the last 50 years. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Incredible.
He gave very good insight. This whole thing right now is on one person. And you know who it is? Jill Biden.
Joe.
It's all on her. She needs to kind of sit down and say, babe.
On
it's
Jill Biden.
It's on her, not Joe.
Gotcha. Jill.
It's on Jill to say, Joe, go announce immediately you're not running in 2024 and you're stepping away, okay? Because the last way you want to, I guarantee you if he went out there and said that, 90% of these issues would go away. I'm telling you right now. Yeah. I'm convinced if he was to go out there and saying, I am not running in 2024, you would see very quickly this disappear and go away. And that's a better way to leave than, no, I'm going to run, they can't do nothing. No, they're going to keep finding shit on you. If you've been in politics for 48 years, you have so much dirt on you, and they got a list of it. I'm willing to believe there's somebody behind closed doors that they have one job. You know what their job is? They have a file on 1,800 people in politics ever, and every single dirt on them, just waiting to see when to use that dirt. And they have a number 8 dirt, they have a number 4 dirt, and they have a number 1 dirt. This is not Joe's top 10 dirt. If they want to use his number 1, it will not be career-ending. it will be legacy ending where the last name Biden, the name Joe will go from being the most common name that kids give their names to Joe going on a name drought for 2 decades, okay? If they pull up that number one thing.
You're saying that there might be more hidden.
There's not, there might be. There is more.
If
I'm
that
convinced.
is the case, why didn't they use that already? Or why didn't they use
They don't
that
need to
in
use
the
it yet. They don't need to
election?
use. No, why didn't they use a lot of things on JFK? You know, why didn't they use a lot of things on the part of which Trump was the most annoying person for the left is because he didn't give a shit.
Because he would own the dirt.
Yeah, like you know how he's talking about, I asked him, I said, what's the worst label you can give somebody nowadays that's career ending?
Racist.
Guess what Trump says about the labels? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That is power, though. That is power. Every one of these guys gives a shit. He does not give a shit. He doesn't sit there and say, you know, it's not going to be, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no problem. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, how about you? How about this? How about Crooked Hillary? How about that? The way he was a counterpuncher, he ruined politics. He ruined these people who had been gaming politics for years. He ruined them, the swamp. This guy, Jill is in charge right now. Jill needs to make a decision to talk to her husband. And Joe needs to come out in the next 2, 4, 8 weeks and say, hey, after long conversations with my wife and after a visit with the doctors asked me it is not a good idea for me to go another 4 years. There are plenty of other great candidates in America like Newsom, like this. He needs to give that message written in the following way, looking down at a piece of paper where he is edifying and indirectly, you know, endorsing the next 4, 5, 6, 8 different candidates. And then he's going to say, I will do my part. This is the greatest honor of my life. I will finish this term and we will support the next Democratic candidate to become the president. That's what I foresee happening.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.